to welcome everyone today to another episode of Chris and I here talking about questions that we encounter ourselves. And it's important for us to bring up these questions because we think it's important. So, in today's episode, there's going to be three questions we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing the value of counseling at a college level. We're going to be discussing about COVID, how COVID influences. And number three, how we actually deal with that at the end of the day. So with the first question, man, is for our students and audience out there.
Yes, sir.
When they tell you, man, I don't go to see a counselor, what do you say to that student?
That's a very good question. So, I definitely want to welcome everyone. Monday is always my favorite time. I love the fact that we get to have this conversation and it feels like you all are in the room with us.
Right.
It's we've been getting really good feedback, but again, we want your feedback. We want you to continue to like, subscribe, make
Please.
sure that you're
Yes.
you're in this and leave your comments because based off of your comments, that's how we're going to create our episodes.
Right.
Hyro,
Yeah.
going back to what you were saying, when students, so I like to think of a counselor. Okay, I want you to think of a counselor as your hype man, your hype woman.
I like that.
Your talent agency. So think of us as that person, that individual that's creating that perfect environment for you. So when I say that, it's you're coming in and you're telling us what you want to do. Okay, we're hyping you up,
Right.
but at the same time, we're keeping it real with
Yes.
you in all aspects. So if you're coming in, and a perfect example would be when you think of a counselor, you tell us exactly what your goals are. And goals could be you telling us what school you would like to transfer to, if that's one of your goals. We would tell you would tell us, personal stuff. You tell us your past, maybe if you've been to other colleges.
Correct.
We take all this intake information for you.
Yes.
We gather it up.
Yeah.
And then we keep it real. We tell you, hey, listen, if you're at a 2.0 and you tell me you want to go to Harvard, Hyro, what are you going to say?
I got to be real with you. You got to put some work in.
You got to put some work in.
That's just the reality, right? Because I usually tell students, how about you be Harvard? Would you accept your application at your GPA?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest.
That's real.
Would you say
That's
2.0?
real.
Yeah, I'm going to get him.
Right.
And at the end of the day, there is preferences, right?
Right.
Meaning the hard work you put in. But I like how you say that too, man, about we take everything in together, right? Because why? You're not just a student.
Mm-hmm.
You're a whole person.
Mm-hmm.
You're a person that has to deal with parents, siblings, grandparents. Hey, if you're Latino, you got your grandma or grandfather in your home or your aunt or uncle because certain circumstances. But we as counselors bring that in and say, okay, this is your reality. By you coming to college, once again, don't compare yourself to another student. So why is it so valuable to come and see an academic counselor? It's because we went to school for this.
Yes.
It's like you go to the doctor to get better, get some medicine, get antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
With us is please help me understand where I want to go. How can I get there and get me out of here quickly?
Quick.
Right?
And you hit on it.
Right.
We are our goal. We're not trying to keep you here.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep it real with you. We
Right.
give you options based off of those options.
Yes.
We tell you exactly
Yes.
what classes you need. From there, we plan to get you out as fast as possible. And it's not like we're wanting to kick you out, but we want to
Yes.
see you. The
Yes.
goal is for you to get that degree.
Yeah.
To get that degree, stamp yourself. That degree you can't get taken away.
Because at the end of the day, if you're helping a kid who wants to be a lawyer,
right.
God forbid you want to need a lawyer.
Uh-huh.
Hey,
That's a good
Mr.
resource.
Williams. Hey, how you doing? I got you. Don't worry about it. Or you
Give
want to be a school teacher. And you might realize you might be my kid's school teacher or my
Yes.
grandchild. And I tell this to my students all the time when they look at me, Mr. Leo, why are you so passionate about what I want to do? It's because you don't understand. I'm investing in you because I don't know if you're going to be my kid's pediatrician one day or my grandchildren's pediatrician, or I don't know, you might help or your grandchild might help my grandchild. And some students say, you think that far ahead? I go,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Because as counselors, we want to give that opportunity and hope for you guys. So one of the things I wanted to touch on too with counseling is this false that counselors are there just to kind of be there. We're not there just to be there.
Mm-mm.
We went to school. We took 2 years of master's degree. We mastered our craft. But more importantly, Chris, I want to give you an example. So if I'm a student
Mm-hmm.
and let's be real.
Yeah, tell
my
me.
my dad just lost his job.
Ooh.
Okay. And I'm taking
That's
12
not
units.
good. Yeah.
And my mom is being hard on my dad because he lost his job. You as a young man, you're like, you know what? I can go get a job. So if I'm taking 12 units, I'm going to load up 40 hours of work. I come to you and I say, hey, I want to become, let's say I want to be a physical therapist one day.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your advice to me, knowing that all of this is happening?
Right.
But given the idea, you never found out because I never came to you. But now I'm
Right.
coming to you as a counselor. How would you counsel me knowing all of this stuff is happening?
Yeah, good. Very good question. So the first thing that I would do is we would have had multiple sessions for me to be able to know that. Or let's just say there's some students who are open books. Okay. So our first session, you tell me exactly what Hyrule said.
Right.
You lost your job, wife is on.
Right.
He is looking for a job at this current time, or maybe secured a job, and it's 40 hours a week. So research says, that's what research says, that per unit, you need to study at least 2 hours. So all in all, if you're doing 12 units, you need to study at least 12 hours a unit. That's 24 units, not taking into consideration the time that you're going to be in class, which is 12 hours a week.
Right.
You take that 24 plus 12, that's 36 hours. And I'm not good at math. I'm just I'm just spitting it out. But that's something that we would talk about. Cool. So I would tell you that if you're doing a 40-hour-a-week job, you're also doing 36 hours a week here. Let's talk about other things that you have as far as responsibilities. Do you, are your kids grown? Do you still have young kids? I would look at, what does your job consist of? Is it very hands-on? Is it mentally draining, mentally and physically draining? I want to know all that.
What about the emotional draining?
Yeah, emotional too. So when you think about all of that, I don't like off the bat just telling students, hey, just based off of you telling me you work 40 hours, I want you to go part-time. Because I know there was a time where I was working full-time and doing school full-time. And I was doing pretty well at it. But then there was a time when I had another job. Right. And with that job, I couldn't do it. So based off of that information, I would look at your past grades as well. Look at your past grades. And with all of that information, we're going to come up with a plan to see what's best for you. It's always quality work and not quantity.
That's true.
You could have 16 units, and if you're getting C's and D's, that does nothing for us.
That doesn't. It might even trigger back, because then you might start looking at yourself as, man, I'm a failure. I'm not getting the A's or B's. Well, because you're not considering 40 hours of work. Mm-hmm. You're not considering the stress is going on you. But as you were talking, it's just that's the reality. Just think about it for a second. When you go see, once again, I go back to the doctor analogy. You go talk to a doctor. The doctor doesn't know how to help you unless you open your mouth and say, this is what's happening. Doctor can't read your mind. Mm-hmm. You got to say, you know what? I got a sore throat. Kind of my arm hurts. Mm-hmm. The doctor starts looking into that, right? So look at us as kind of like doctors, but in the college field, where we start analyzing, right? We get all this data and we say, okay, we believe this is the best antidote for what you're going through. And if it doesn't work, come and see us again. Same thing what a doctor would say. But going off that with the counseling, just 2-3 years ago, we had that COVID.
Ooh, that was bad.
It struck not just academics, everybody across the world, right? Or even in the United States, when how difficult could have been for all the families that lost their job, mom and pop businesses, emotionally draining, and college went online.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. How much of that really impacted a young man?
It was hard. I mean, we're thinking about it from a student perspective, but I even want you to see it from like a faculty counseling perspective. In 2020, when all of this happened, I, as a counselor, have never taught a class. Online. Okay, yes. I was always that in-person, in your face, enthusiastic, hype man teacher. We'll start the class. Roll. They don't know about the roll.
Right.
But that was me, and
Yes.
it was mandatory. I was teaching at the time, spring semester, and it was mandatory for all of us to just go online.
Line. Boom.
Dude,
Switch
we
up.
we had to do a quick little class,
Yes.
like a couple of hours,
Yes.
and then you figure it out. Jairo, for me as a professor, that was one of the things that I was going through, trying to make my students, you all, still feel the same welcome, still feel the same, what's the word? The same capture, the same intake.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to just make that student feel like a student and trying to mimic that in person at that time. But then I have kids.
Right.
I have kids. So my son, very social kid. My daughter, a little bit more introverted.
Good point.
But my daughter felt the effects of the COVID-19, and I started seeing this take a toll on her mental health.
Right.
I did, and I'm juggling. I'm teaching a class. I'm counseling students.
Right.
I'm running into my daughter in my son's room,
Yeah.
and then my wife, she's downstairs, and she's a high school counselor,
Yeah.
so she's doing her counseling thing,
Yeah.
and we're trying to make sure that everything is good. The most mentally draining thing is seeing your kids sort of go down and not being able to do nothing
Correct.
about it.
Correct.
It hurt me.
Yeah.
It hurt me. Before we talk about student aspect, how was yours?
You know what, man? It was scary because we knew that. Well, my two daughters are very different. I mean, one is a very introvert, and one an extrovert. It was difficult for us because we had to literally go from, hey, I'm gonna go to the office, I'll be back, to where we're all under the same household, right? We're under the same roof at the same time. I have my 6-year-old online, and obviously they're kids.
They're kids.
They're kids. So the teacher's like, okay, guys, pay attention.
Right.
While my, back then, 5th grader, my oldest child, 5th grader, she's coming in, hey, the Wi-Fi went out. I can't talk to my teacher. How do I do this? And then I'm getting like, oh, I got to be in the meeting. And then the wife is saying, hey, but I got to go on the meeting too. So we're all so busy, but under the same roof. It was difficult, Chris.
It was.
It was
and then
difficult.
class being short too. They were 9 to 12.
Yeah.
9 to 12.
And then what do you do after 12?
Yeah.
And we still got to work till 5.
Till 5 o'clock.
So
yeah.
And they couldn't see that, right? But I think my biggest experience for me, I was blessed that me and my wife, we get along, man. To be honest. I know. Me and my wife, we get along in the sense like, you do you, I'll do me, we're cool. Like we're just that married couple that says, hey, you got your responsibilities, I got mine. But at the end of the day, the kids, right? We got to focus on the kids. So we heard a lot of stories from our friends and family members that got really difficult in their relationships because they had to see each other every day, 24 hours.
Yes.
So in some cases, some people say, oh, you've been married for 20 plus years. Yeah, because if you really look at the hours, how long do you spend with your spouse? Maybe 3-4 hours a day because you're all busy. And within 24 hours,
boom.
It's 24 hours with that person.
Ooh,
so I got
and I don't
lucky,
say
man.
two like, oh no, but
I got lucky, that my wife and I, we were able to have these conversations and we were okay with it. But I saw a lot of struggle with other families who lost their jobs.
Yes.
We were blessed because we're in the industry that had to keep going. Believe it or not, we had to keep going.
We had to.
I mean, we had no, you know what? I might need a week to kind of gather stuff together. No. It was like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, we were all online.
Exactly.
And it was difficult for us too.
Yeah.
But
and that was one of the things that happened. And same with you. I want to put this on record. Me and my wife, I did the woof. Me and my wife, we get along as well. We love each other.
Clear it up.
We were good. So then the COVID started. Yeah. And then initially, I'm going to be real, I was thinking, wow, well, this is only going to be a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month.
Maybe.
We'll be back in class. So it was fun. I picked up a TikTok habit. I was making I learned how to cut my own hair, cut my son's hair. I was learning all these new skills that I never thought. But then the virus started hitting in. And then you started seeing deaths on TV. Yes. Okay. Yes. But then we're locked up in the house, right? Yeah. And then you start seeing all the chaos and George Floyd happened, and then protests.
Correct.
And then all of this stuff, and before COVID, just rewinding, we had Kobe Bryant. So the start of the year, Kobe Bryant, to now, all of this happening.
Yeah.
And Harold, normally if you're at work or if you're at school, if you all are at work,
right,
you may not see every single detail.
Yeah.
You're not caught up in the moment as to seeing every single detail. But that hit so hard in a sense to where everything you looked at, you couldn't escape it. Instagram, Facebook, you turned on the TV. So all of that started creating these mental health issues and all of these movements happening. And then, it was just a lot.
Everything.
It was a lot.
If you were a teenager, you were feeling it. If you were a elderly grandfather, you were feeling it. Everybody took the hit. So there was no, or you took it more than us. No, everyone took a hit. Where even in some cases, on our viewers, some of you guys probably lost your family members and you couldn't say goodbye to them. And I mean, it happened to me. I lost my aunt, and it was just like literally 2-3 weeks. Boom. Hey, she passed away. Yeah. What happened? And it was scary because there's about 6 or 7 family members that live with her, and she was the only one that got it and passed away. Mm-hmm. So then you start questioning your own government. Mm-hmm. You start questioning your own health group people. Like, how did that happen? Yeah. You look for answers, and it starts stressing you out. So I can imagine, right, as a student, and the only thing I could get close to being a student, something happened, 9/11. So that took it back 9/11, where something was happening. We didn't know what was happening. We were under attack, but I still had to go to my English class. I wasn't told to stay home. I wasn't told you can't go to work.
Right.
So I kind of tried to get a feeling from a college perspective, like what would that happen? But
yeah, and even with 9/11 though, 9/11 was. So I remember I was a freshman, sophomore in high school when that happened. But that feeling was, wow, something happened. But there was, something happened. But there was no direct, hit to, for instance, the closest people to me as far as this virus or everything that was going on in the 2020. You start thinking about it and seeing it now to where, oh, wow, that was huge. But this one, it had a direct, there's not one person that you talk to that they will tell you that there was no direct impact. Meaning the way it hit their lives. Students not enjoying, could you imagine not enjoying your junior and senior year in high school just for the development perspective? And I know a lot of students out there went through that. And Dr. Green and I, we did a collaboration class, Guidance 48. We taught this together. This is College Success. And just going through our students and talking to the students and reading some of the papers, even students who've been out for 2 to 3 years, they still are feeling some type of impact.
And that's crazy too, because I can even say the impact is still there. Let's be honest. You're in line and someone goes, you react to man, why you cough, man? Cover yourself. We're still in that
shock. That PTSD.
Why don't you stay home? It can be COVID. We're still. That's how much we know it impacted our personal lives. Mm-hmm. But going with that COVID-19 and how that really impacted our lives, but how online, did online really become inconvenient for us counselors? Were we at the end of the day more happy because we could stay home? Because I'll be honest with you guys, for me as a counselor, it was very difficult because some of you guys wouldn't share your screens. And believe it or not, little insight on counseling, 90% of our training is nonverbal communication. 90%. And if I'm saying, hey, I think you should take this, I'm not able to see your face. I'm not able to see your reaction I don't want to take that. Because then as I can see that reaction, I can say, hey, how did that make you feel? Or talk to me. So it was difficult for me. So then I can imagine how a convenience was staying home. Yeah. Car insurance went down, gas went down. It was nice.
Right.
But from a counselor perspective, it was difficult. So I'm just trying to take it to where, was it a convenient for a student to go online and think, hey, look, I'm just going to do online and get my classes done? Or do you or I think that it became more difficult for students to learn from here versus in a class? So,
great question. So when you look at students' grades and you're looking at it online, you see that a lot of students within that spring 2021 or spring 2020, there's a lot of failed classes, withdrawals, EWs, which is extenuating circumstances. There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so initially, obviously, with change, that's what comes. It takes us. The great thing is, us as humans, we adapt to change pretty quickly.
Yes.
But it took a long time for that. Now it's convenient for students in a sense that they have access to counselors and being able to do classes
like that
they would have never been able to do. We see a lot of students who are having counseling appointments from their lunch break.
Yes.
The student services building used to be like downtown Riverside, downtown LA, always packed. Always packed. Now there's a good rush of students in there, but students have options. You don't have to risk missing work to have a counseling appointment. If you have kids, there's a lot more offerings online. Even though we're going back to our model we were before, there's still a lot more options, and our online classes fill up a lot quicker than our in-person. So the convenience wasn't there, but I think now that we think about it, and us as counselors, the reason why we still have this hybrid schedule is because students are liking the concept of being able to go online. Yeah.
And I think it's good for you guys to use technology to the best of your ability, right? To make contact with us. So once again, it's no excuse not to reach to a counselor.
Yes.
General counseling, you book up an appointment if it's online. And believe it or not, I get students sometimes booking online and they say, hey, Mr. Delon, let me pull over to a side real quick. Let me park this car. Let's do our counseling. A 10, 15 minute help a student make a better decision if he would have never met with me, because I was able to discuss, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you thought about that? So I think it was a convenience. I think all around from a big picture.
Very much so. Very much.
But I think one of the things that we want to remind our students is they can go online, they can set an appointment with us, counseling. We encourage you guys at least once a semester, come and talk to Chris or general counseling. I'm in the EOPS department, and for my viewers that are EOPS students, come on now. You guys got to come and talk to me or talk to one of our counselors, because this is why we went to school. You know, we just didn't go to school to hang out in an office. You know, we went to school to make sure that we can help you guys fulfill your dreams. So you know,
and then real quick, Jairo, two things, just because you just hit on a point. So general counseling, it's very important that if you're making an appointment, because general counseling is generally speaking, I like to see us as like the front line of counseling regarding, we see all students, and then based off of your needs, we'll take you to EOPS, CalWorks, our DRC Center, all of the different resources and engagement centers that we offer. But one of the things that I want you all to know is if you're making an appointment for general counseling, it's best to make your appointment at midnight, because it's generally booked up for about a week. So if today is Monday, if you're making your appointment at midnight tonight, Tuesday morning, you're making it for next Tuesday. And that's when the appointments open up for general counseling. And then last thing, we spoke about COVID-19, and we spoke about different subjects that you all may have went through as students. With that being said, we have what's called an extenuating circumstances petition that is available to you all for something that may have been extenuating that happened within your lives the past year. Okay, now with this extenuating circumstances petition, it's important to make sure that students have documentation of that. But just see us, and we'll talk to you about more. I want to throw that in there.
I like the whole EW, because you may not think that you're eligible for EW, but we do, because we say, hey, that's a legitimate struggle, you know? But you would have never known about that option if you would have never came and spoke to us. So, you know, we talk about something every week. I just want to encourage you guys to tune in, you know, subscribe. You can email us right here under this email right here. Ask us your questions, because honestly, we work for you at the end of the day. So if you have a question like, hey, what would the counselor, what would Mr. Jairo or Chris do in this scenario? You know, just send us an email and share it with people. I will always encourage students in general. just because it doesn't work for you may not necessarily be where you keep it for you. You may share it with someone else and have someone else listen to what we got to say.
Facts.
You know, so if you got your aunt, uncle, family member, hey, I heard this the podcast with Mr. Chris, Mr. Hyro, you know, I may not necessarily need the service, but you might. So what do you think, man? A little last words for this week for our students?
Yeah, you all get active. Get active. Utilize these resources that you have. Again, subscribe. All
Yes.
we're doing is just dropping gems here
Right.
that are available for you. There's so many options, and Hyro and I, we're gonna go through a lot of stuff, but a lot of the things that are important is just having this conversation,
Right.
just
Right.
letting you all know who we are, just letting you all know our experiences,
Yes.
just letting you know that you're not alone out there. There's a lot of different struggles, but
Yeah.
we're providing these loopholes.
Pretty much.
Okay, loopholes are important. If you're trying to get that degree, if you're trying to get that certificate, meet us in person.
Yes.
Meet us in person. Hear these gems that we drop.
Cool.
Man,
I love it. Well,
We're
thank you so
good.
much for being with us today. Enjoy your day, your week, weekend. You guys take care. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.